Surf's up. I got a good question on my stream, which I'm going to just lightly dive into here. Palaco TV asks, Mauisnake, just curious, what do I think when it comes to actual supplemental data to support the claims that a CS player falls off after their mid-20s? As a 28-year-old CS player that has high aspirations and loves CS, this shit sucks to hear from me, but because I think it's BS. I feel like CS in terms of longevity is still young and really hasn't been time to see the extent of a player's ability through time. I could be coping, but just want to hear your thoughts. Hey guys, the sponsor of this video is Skin Club, the case opening website. They've been getting extremely involved with the esports space lately, sponsoring teams like Vitality, the Mongols, Saw. They recently sponsored the HLTV Awards, which they were kind enough to fly me out to. So if you like my content on here or on my Twitch, check out their community portal on their website to consume more esports related and focused content by people like myself, Kerrigan, and James Banks. There are deeper dive articles, tier lists from people like myself, and articles about pro skin loadouts. I also publish some of my content monthly over there, so be sure to give them a look. I don't think that there is significant enough drop off in a person's ability once they hit a certain age that would ever cause solely that their fall off in Counter-Strike. So for example, in my tier list of boomers, some of these guys are playing some of the best CS of their lives into their late 20s, early 30s. Apex, for different reasons. Nico, Xantaras, and Elige, 28, 29, 28. These guys are still playing at a world-class elite level, and they're aggressive riflers. Okay, let's think about that for 1 second. And they look incredibly sharp in 2025 in a game that's supposed to be more mechanics-driven. If you're getting older and mechanics are so much about just, if you're younger, your mechanics will be better, that's just, I don't think that's correct. I think that's a false statement. The claim in my eyes is that as you get older, your responsibilities in life start mounting up. They start to stack up. Sometimes you get a girlfriend, sometimes you have kids, sometimes you have more bills to pay, sometimes you want to balance getting an education or having a second job with playing. Whereas when you're younger, just look at the Kyosuke's of the world, all you have to do is high school. And I'm going to be honest, even as someone that ended up going to a very good university, high school was relatively easy for me. I had a lot of free time. And I feel like your free time as you get older and older just shrinks. That's the main aspect. And if you're just using your free time to grind Counter-Strike, you're probably losing time. But if you can still afford into your late 20s, early 30s to have on Steam, it says 80 hours past 2 weeks. Why not? Why not? If you're spending 40 hours a week, you're grinding as hard as some of these kids are. I know some people are already going to be, but actually the Kyosuke's of the world have 100 hours. No, actually, oftentimes I've looked at a lot of the players, even at the highest level, even in their young 20s on Steam. A lot of them it'll say 65 to 90 hours in the past 2 weeks. It's very rare to even see pro players with it saying above 100 hours. Most of them hide it, but if you can afford to have 35 plus hours in a week dedicated towards Counter-Strike, and focus time too, one where your kid isn't yelling in the background, where you're not being nagged to do certain responsibilities by your family or anything like that, or even you're just taking it upon yourself to fulfill those responsibilities. I don't see why not. This is not generally true with everybody. A bigger issue for being a good player individually over pure age is, when do you have your first kid? When do you actually have a serious relationship? When do you have a second job? I think those are much more determining factor. If someone could make a chart that was more about time after first kid, even then showing second kid, their decline likely in rating after that. Like, let's keep an eye on Rain, guys. Let's keep an eye on Rain. The fall off has already begun, but how much is he going to have to give his kids, and how long from now? Worse. In fact, reaction time doesn't even get that much worse. Effective age in IGLs. Okay, so here's this. Rating does go down. You can see that even at 31, the median rating is better than 26 or 25 or 20. So Nero collected the median rating of a bunch of players, like basically everybody, as far as I know, that he has on these kinds of lists. So like a lot of the top teams, pretty much everybody that you know on a top team, all these players, all of these players. So even going down to teams that I haven't really even focused on too much, people like Nine Pandas, Gamer Legion. So it's a great sample size of data here. And there is a general trend. There is a general trend, but it almost still feels like the data is not thorough enough. Because if the median rating of 31-year-olds and 29-year-olds is higher than 28-year-olds, 27-year-olds, 26-year-olds, 25-year-olds, 24-year-olds, 23-year-olds, to me, that just says that the top players that are old are just bad, okay? Because I would say that there's likely less people that are 32. In fact, let's look at my chart. How many of these players are 32? 1, 2, 3. There were 3 players. So the sample size is still obviously very small. So that's the data for you on modern CS. I just don't think we've collected enough. So follow your dreams. Follow your dreams. Age-related increases in reaction time result from slower prep, not delayed initiation. Grok, is this real? Key findings. Older adults are slower primarily because they need more time to process and prepare movements, not because they hesitate once prepared. The consistent 90 millisecond delay suggests a stable behavioral buffer between readiness and action, not influenced by age. Aging causes slower reaction times mainly due to slower stimulus processing and movement prep. Once prepared, older adults initiate movement just as promptly as younger adults. But how much is it by? In the study, 2 milliseconds per year of age. 96 milliseconds slower than someone 20 years old for being 60. That is so insignificant for Counter-Strike. That is no, not okay. 96, but I'm not saying you're a 60-year-old playing. Okay, if this guy's saying you want to play in your at 30, that's not a lot. Okay, wait, 100 milliseconds from 20 to 60. We're not talking about players in the 60s right now. I'm talking about players in their 30s. 25 millisecond difference in processing that stuff. Just get a better monitor, bro. Just get that 360 hertz. Generally, people just swap over because they don't have the time to dedicate it towards training their reaction time. Instead, they would rather just theorize, strategize away from the server. The knowledge that you gain through your playing career allows you to be a better in-game leader, and so you recognize you could be an asset to a team in a different way. That's primarily it, more than just the pure reaction time difference. Again, 90 milliseconds of reaction time it can be life or death in Counter-Strike, okay? Every single millisecond. So I'm not trying to completely diminish that. And sometimes when I key into players that are on the come up, I focus on their mechanics. I don't think that their decision making is going to be as sharp. So when they're able to sprout up and come out of nowhere, generally it's because of the fact they have insane mechanics. It's rare that they have all of the best decision making at all times. But that's also why some people's careers are short-lived. They rely so much on their mechanics and not because of them being a more thoroughly developed player. And so to finally answer your question, Polacco TV, I don't think that age is going to be a hindrance to you if you're purely talking about your abilities. So thank you for submitting that question. And as always, being toxic is a choice.